Hey guys, what's going on? Today we're going to be taking a look at the Scuf Elite Gaming Controller made by Scuf Gaming. Before we get started, I just want to say this review is 100% legit. These guys didn't send me this controller. I paid for it with my own money. No referral link. They didn't pay me to do this, so this is 100% legit. Bought this with my own money. So let's get started. First big thing with this controller that makes it different from the Xbox 360 controller is the domed thumbsticks. I believe by default only the aim stick is domed, and the other one is concaved in. I would recommend getting both of them domed. Once I got used to it, it's awesome. Hands down, after about 2 or 3 hours, the first 3 hours you use the controller, it's gonna feel weird because you're used to a concave thumbstick, unless you play on the PS3 already, and then you're probably used to it. The first 3 hours, it feels like you're playing like one level more sensitive. Like if you play on a 3 sensitivity, it feels like you're playing on a 4. And that's because you have so much more control with the thumbstick, and it's so much quicker. And they mentioned something on their website when I was looking at it, like no quick slow or whatever. And I don't know if my controller like was just slow, but when I first started using this thing, it was like, oh my god, like I felt like I'm playing on a 5 sensitivity when I usually play on a 3. And I think that's just because of this controller. It's a lot quicker. I don't really know what it is, but it was a little bit quick at first. I got used to it, and now my shots are much more accurate. The dome thumbsticks allow you to have a lot more control because they're higher up. And that's something that's kind of a problem with the standard Xbox controller, is the thumbsticks are very, very short. And I mean, you can obviously see it when I put them side by side. The thumbsticks on the Scuf controller are much longer, they're domed, you have a lot more control. Hands down, that's just fact. There's a reason why FPS freaks are so popular for the Xbox 360 controller, and all they do is just raise the thumbsticks. They don't do anything special, just make the thumbsticks higher, and with this, you don't have to have like a ghetto taped up thumbstick or however those work. I'm not sure how those work, but it's built in, solid. When I first got this controller, that was the one thing that I can say was, I mean, these paddles on the back, which I'll get onto later, and everything about this controller is just solid. Nothing feels out of place, nothing feels like it's gonna fall off. It almost feels more solid than the standard Xbox 360 controller. It feels like just the screws are tighter. I don't know, it just feels good. I like to like click it around, it just feels all awesome. That's how I'll describe it. It feels awesome. Next thing to get into, and this is something you probably don't notice, is that the Scuf controller has a better grip. It's got a rubberized grip on both the back and the front. It's got a nice little texture right there, and the back of it is awesome. It's like a really grippy rubber. It's like a new not really like a new basketball, but if any of you guys have ever held like a basketball that's been played a lot with, like it's been like dribbled around the asphalt a lot and it's just completely smooth, that's what this controller is, the standard one. It's really, really smooth, really slick. If you got your hands on it and they're slippery, they'll just come right off. This controller, it's rubberized. And it's a little bit weird to get used to it because you feel like your fingers are just sticking to it. But once you get used to it, using this thing sucks. So that's really nice. And it's something that's probably overlooked, but if you play long hours like I do, it's really nice to have that grip. And I'm someone that gets a little bit nervous. Like say I'm like one away from an Osprey gunner, my hands start sweating, and sometimes when I'm playing with this controller, my hands start sweating, they start like slipping off. And yeah, it's nice. That's one thing that I like about this controller. The next thing that I want to talk about is these triggers. These triggers are awesome. And the way these work is your controller comes with an Allen key. I'm pretty sure this is a standard Allen key, so if you lose this, you're not like screwed or anything. But what that does is you can turn this little screw, I'm not sure if you can see it right there. Maybe if the camera will adjust. Right by the trigger, that little thing right by the trigger right there. You can put your Allen key in that and turn it. And what that does is that makes this trigger go down further and further and further, or makes it go up more and more and more. And with that, you can adjust how sensitive you want your trigger to be. So I like my trigger, not quite a hair trigger. I don't want it to be like I barely push it and it shoots, but I like it to be pretty much as close to that as you possibly can get. Because sometimes I like rearrange my hands, and when I first did that, I had a hair trigger and I'd move my hand a little bit and shoot, or accidentally scope in, and it just didn't work. So I had to loosen it up a little bit, and I like it like that. You'll notice that you'll start winning a lot of gunfights. When you first start doing that, you'll start winning a lot of gunfights and you'll have really red health. And that's normally a time where you probably would have died, but that little quicker trigger pull. Instead of your trigger having to go, all right, let's see. Instead of your trigger going to have to be like this, where, all right, now I'm zoomed in. With this, it's like zoomed in. It's really, really quick. It's something that probably sounds stupid with me talking about it right now. You're probably like, oh, that's stupid. Who cares? It's like a millisecond, but with Call of Duty especially, that millisecond really counts. And you just feel just so much quicker. It's awesome. So I really can't say how I really like that feature. Next thing, the big selling point for this controller is these paddles. These paddles in the back right here, these things are unbelievably, like they're just unbelievably awesome. And they're solid. They don't feel like a dumbass Mad Catz controller with like some button on the back that's just made to sell an extra controller. These things, they're solid. There's 2 screws that hold them in. There's not like a little button. You have to, the button's in the back right here, but you can actually activate the button. Like, so say you hold your controller like really weird, and your thumb and your fingers are all the way right here instead of all the way back here. You can still hit these buttons because it's a paddle, which is a really nice. That was smart for sure to do that. My fingers, the way I hold it, they're already on the button, so it's not a big deal at all. And these are the only downside, which is not really a downside in my book, is that you can't reprogram these paddles. And there's a reason why you can't, because if you could reprogram them, then you couldn't use this controller in tournaments, and they wanted this controller to be able to be used in tournaments, so can't reprogram them. This paddle is A, and this paddle is B. And you might be thinking, wow, that sucks, why can't I reprogram it? That's shit. But think about it, what else would you want this to be other than A and B? In every game I've played, I've never used this controller and been like, man, I really want that to be Y, or man, I really want that to be RB, or, you know, left over, or whatever the fuck. A and B are the 2 primary buttons for every game I've played. Sonic, Final Fantasy, Call of Duty, Halo, I've always wanted these to be A and B. And most games that the 2 primary buttons that you use out of the 4, if they're not A and B, then you can probably change your controller layout to where they are A and B. And what these controller paddles let you do, particularly in Call of Duty, that's really, really unfair. I'm just gonna say it's unfair. Drop shotting and jumping around corners and shit is amazing. It's a whole new tactic. Like if I know there's a guy behind a corner, and instead of me having to like waste a flashbang or try to like out peek him, I can just sprint, run, jump, and drop shot. So it's like my guy is running, and I jump around the corner, hit the ground. As soon as my feet hit the ground, I'm on the ground, because that's the way the Call of Duty dropping works. Is if you hold B while you're in the air, as soon as you hit, you're on the ground, and then you can shoot. And instead of you doing it on the standard Xbox controller, like if I were to do that on the standard Xbox controller, all right, I'm running, jump, B, and then my thumb it's never been on the thumbstick the whole time. And with this, you can be aiming while you're in the air and while you're in the crouching position, or going into the crouching position. So you don't have all that thumb movement. And that's what's really killer about this controller, is that your thumb never leaves this joystick ever unless you're reloading or switching weapons. That is awesome. It really has improved my game, particularly with just the aim. The aim with these thumbsticks is really awesome. It took me a little bit of time to get used to it, but it is sick. Let's talk about some of the negative parts of this controller. For one, these triggers, when you have them really tight as a trigger, sometimes you can't like, it's not good for other games, so you will have to adjust them sometimes for some other games. I haven't had that happen yet, but I can definitely see that happening. They put that in the guide, like sometimes you're gonna have to loosen your triggers up, or you're gonna be like firing in certain games. The only time that I've really noticed this is Netflix. I can't do fast forwarding in Netflix because the controller is too tight and it just doesn't work. So I use this for my Netflix controller. Whatever. It's the only time I use this controller, so I guess it justified my purchase. But this thing, hands down, way better than the standard Xbox controller. I've always liked this controller. I like it more than other controllers. The standard Xbox controller, I've always liked it. I've always liked it more than other controllers, but this is the only one that's taken the cake over it. Is there anything else I want to talk about with this controller? It came with batteries. That was fucking nice. I didn't have any batteries, so Good job, Scuf. You saved me a trip to the store. Anything else? Just a solid controller, guys. This thing is awesome. It's a little pricey. It's a little bit pricey, I'm not gonna lie. But if you spend a lot of time playing games like I do, then you might as well get it. You're gonna use it all the time. If you're a big Xbox guy like I am, you're gonna be using this. It's gonna pay for itself in a week. It's gonna improve your game. And it's solid, man. It just feels good. One thing about this controller I like, and the one thing I like about the Scuf guys, is that, say for example, like you just hate gnome thumbsticks, like even though I really recommend you try them, if you just, for some reason, do not want to do that, you can customize your controller to your liking. You can have, I think you can actually change these too. If you really, for some reason, don't want this to be A and B, I think you can change it on the website when they're custom making your controller. Another thing that's cool, they actually make these controllers. These aren't like in a factory made. It's a bunch of guys, I think in Georgia, that just make these things. They're handmade, they're really solid. You can change the buttons. There's like blacked out buttons to where if you, instead of having like colored buttons, if you just want black buttons, they can do that. And if you don't want this shiny Xbox symbol, you can have it blacked out. You can have multiple different color controllers. I got a fairly simple one. There's like ones with like red and black and pink and black and green and black, bunch of really cool colors. So that's cool. What else? Anything else? I mean, it has about the same battery life as a standard Xbox controller, a standard wireless one. Rumble packs, you can get the rumble packs taken out if you want your controller to be really light. I actually like the rumble packs in there because I like it to rumble. Let's get ready to rumble. But yeah, it's cool. It's cool that you can actually customize your controller. You can get this rubberized grip off or on. But really, I'd go check it out and see what you like. You got a lot of customization. When it comes to matching up with the Anza, Razer Anza, the only real probably competitor to this controller, I don't know, the Verdict. That's the Verdict. That thing fucking sucks. Don't get the Anza. Get this controller. It's awesome. That's all. Hope you guys enjoyed this little review. Did this in one take. Hopefully it made sense. But go check out the Scuf Gaming Controller. It's awesome. Again, not a paid review. Bought this with my own money. Don't regret it. Definitely worth the money. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you later. Peace.